Good morning. This is quite a step in a saga that's been going on for almost half a decade. Think about that. We know the FBI began investigating Hunter Biden in at least 2018, could possibly be even earlier. So his attorneys want this update from DOJ officials, including the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney David Weiss. Now, Politico out this morning with new reporting that Hunter Biden's attorney, Abby Lowell, sent letters requesting the Treasury Department request that the Inspector General there to probe why a former Trump official had access to what are called suspicious activity reports. Lowell is also requesting an ethics investigation into Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's verbal attacks on the younger Biden. Recently, a whistleblower that worked for the IRS come to congressional Republicans and argued the probe into Hunter Biden not being handled properly. We reported that authorities have probed Hunter's overseas business dealings, his taxes, and lying on a federal form related to a gun purchase. Democrat Senator Chris Coons, a close confidant of the Biden family, says details about the whistleblower are sketchy at best. Listen.
Nothing's been presented yet. This person hasn't come forward in any detail.
But Dana, the whistleblower's attorney, told Fox News late last week the mystery is somewhat by design because that's why there are whistleblower protections in place. And when the time is right, this IRS agent will come forward.
He knows that he's going to be attacked. And, really, attacks like this are kind of what he was worried about. But he wants to come forward, tell the truth.
Now, will U.S. Attorney David Weiss in Wilmington, Delaware, make a decision soon? Will he decide to charge the younger Biden, or will he let them walk? As I said, this investigation has been going on almost 5 years now. The meeting expected to happen sometime this week. We're trying to nail down more of the specific time.
Turn to the right!
I'll be home for Christmas. You can plan
those big cons are gonna love you.
Please have snow and mistletoe and presents.
I wasn't ready for that.
On the tree.
Man, sometimes I just love starting my morning off with those memes. It's just such a great and profound way to start the week where you're like laughing at all of them getting their mugshots taken. Don't you want to see it? My name is Benny Johnson. Today is Monday, April 24th, 2023. Hunter Biden's lawyers to meet with the Department of Justice officials this week. Dun, dun, dun. Trust me, this is not what you do when you are innocent. Top Republicans say there won't be any Bidens left in a Christmas family picture, as he claims there could be as many as 12 Biden family members inside of the crime family getting paid by China. And Mike Davis, super lawyer, joins the show to tell us about what the Biden mugshots might look like. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. So much news! We are always covering the news. We are always energetic, and we always bring the energy because of our boys at Blackout Coffee. I talk about them regularly. You gotta get it. You gotta get yourself some Blackout Coffee. It is so packed full of two things, caffeine and freedom. It is coffee that is brewed right here in America, right here in the state of Florida, just a few miles from my studio. It is run by patriotic individuals who want to make sure that you have the energy to fight off evil and fight off the communists. Ladies and gentlemen, I drink Blackout Coffee every single morning. I have actually switched my coffee brand. Trust me, they are incredible. They have my 100% personal recommendation. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny and use the coupon code Benny to get 20% off your first order. blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Look at this. You get even a signature from the owner, John Santos. Boom. Every bag, official. Brutal awakening. Stay on your grind, baby. Blackout Coffee. Let's get going. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. I'm no lawyer. I do have a lawyer. I've worked with lawyers before. I have a great lawyer, actually. You kind of have to in this business. You see what's going on? You kind of have to have a great lawyer. Trust me when I say that this first story will indicate the panic, destruction, and pure blood-curdling fear that the Biden family holds right now as they watch their entire regime collapse in on themselves. We're going to take you through the TikTok of what's about to happen this week. Because what's about to happen this week, I predict Hunter Biden will be charged with felonies. And not just that. that Hunter Biden charged with felonies will lead to discovery that his father is actually behind all of these crimes, and that is why there hasn't been a special counsel appointed by Merrick Garland. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Hunter Biden and his lawyers are heading in to the Department of Justice this week. This is a meeting that they asked for. Why would they ask for a meeting, Benny? Because they're terrified. If you're an innocent individual, you don't go in to federal prosecutors and beg to be let off the hook. It's not what happens. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the federal attorney that is charging Hunter Biden, David Weiss, we now know the crimes. We now have the whistleblower documents. They are now feeling the heat. It is unraveling in real time. The American public is fully aware. And this IRS whistleblower inside the criminal division that we have been covering, this is the worst possible person to have blowing the whistle on you and your corrupt family. They are now putting the pressure that could lead to the impeachment and the downfall of the entire system. And it's happening on the same week that Joe Biden is announcing that he's going to be running for president via a TikTok video, apparently. Maybe with Dylan Mulvaney. We'll see. Okay, first, ladies and gentlemen, the news. Hunter Biden's lawyers to meet with Justice Department officials as scrutiny of investigation intensified. This is from CNN. Now, trust me, ladies and gentlemen, when I say that it is articles like this from CNN that really cause pure fear and panic. Because what they can't miss is the independents who still read corporate media and still listen to the radio on their way into work. They know that we are educated. They know that we are starting to break through, that we are becoming the real media. But there is still a group of Americans that still listen to NBC, CBS. They still listen to the corporate press. And when the information about the Biden corruption begins to seep into those channels, this is why they had to collude with the CIA in order to prevent this. You cannot have these questions in the mainstream. This is what led to the collapse of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's victory in 2016. You cannot have these questions percolating in the mainstream corporate press. Panic time. Ladies and gentlemen, from CNN, lawyers for Hunter Biden are scheduling a meeting with U.S. Attorney David Weiss and at least one senior career official from the Justice Department headquarters to discuss the long-running 5-year investigation into the president's son. Multiple sources told CNN. This is not a request of people who feel like their client is innocent. Trust me. When you are guilty, you call meetings like this, not when you are innocent. The Hunter Biden legal team has reached out to the justice officials in the recent weeks. It's on the case. Routine. When lawyers request a status update, they're invited in to meet. According to a source familiar, Weiss, the U.S. attorney in Delaware, who's been appointed by Donald Trump, is overseeing the ongoing criminal case into Biden's son. After prosecutors narrowed down the possible charges Hunter could face with last year, there hasn't been any public developments. A source familiar with the investigation, prosecutors are still weighing whether to bring misdemeanor charges, failure to file taxes, felony tax evasion, over-reporting expenses, false statement in charge with a gun purchase. Woof. The Justice Department did not comment. Spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware declined to comment. Now, I want to bring your attention to the gun purchases. We're going to have a clip that we play for you in just one moment where an ATF representative says that this is going to lead to possibly 15 years in jail for Hunter Biden. I want to bring your attention to the gun charge, specifically. It is the gun charge that they are possibly most fearful of. One, because Joe Biden has made this one of his planks, right? That you shouldn't lie. Gun criminals are bad, and you shouldn't lie. I agree with you. Gun criminals are bad. Responsible gun ownership for all Americans. Hunter Biden is a gun criminal because he was addicted to crack cocaine when he lied on his federal NICS form. The lying on that form will lead to 15 years imprisonment because Congress passed a law that says you cannot lie to the feds when you're purchasing a firearm. We have the clip for you. You can see it for yourself. An incredible exchange in Congress. Go.
Wilcox, if a person lies on Form 4473 and is a user of unlawful drugs, you can get between 5 to 10 years for that. Is that correct? Is that my understanding?
No, I believe Congress changed the sentence last Congress.
What is that sentence now?
Up to 15.
Up to 15 years. Why hasn't Hunter Biden been prosecuted for the crime that he committed?
I'm not aware of the facts of that case and can't comment on it.
Okay, who do we talk to see why this case is not being prosecuted? I mean, he said very clearly in his book that he used drugs, he had at least a gun.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
State your point of order.
totally irrelevant and not germane to this proceeding.
Sir, he's got his 5 minutes. Go ahead, continue.
Okay, so I understand.
So, okay, Democrats don't know how Congress works. Objection, point of order. It's not a court of law. It's Congress, you dumbasses. Listen, these people are saying Hunter Biden lied on his federal NICS form, and you have the ATF guy in there saying that's going to be 15 years in prison. They're going to be able to fudge every other crime. They're going to put Hunter Biden away. 15 years, federal prison. Don't have a choice. Oh, man, they are nervous about this one. CNN is reporting this morning. We look through the corporate press, so you don't have to, because it's important to note that it is the corporate press is the sort of the pressure point here that really gets them in fear. And we're going to take you through what CNN, which is under new management. Of course, that doesn't make us fans of CNN, but they are under new management, and they are a weapon to be used against the regime, because that new management is going to try and pull more independent viewers back by doing straight reporting. Some of the people on the board of CNN have been desperately trying to do this for years. They are conservatives, and they say, hey, listen, Warner, effectively Discovery Network took over CNN, and they have totally tried to uproot leftism inside of that company, fired a lot of people, and they're going to start doing more reporting like this.
Investigation into the president's son is getting more intense tonight. Multiple sources tell CNN that Hunter Biden's lawyers are set to meet with Justice Department officials next week. The probe centers around potential tax crimes and a gun purchase from 2018. Paula Reed is back with us now. So this is exclusive reporting from you, Paula. What more can you tell us?
That's right. Well, it's exclusive reporting from me and our whole team, which includes Kara Scannell, Sarah Murray, and Elena Treen. But this is interesting because this meeting was actually requested by Hunter Biden's legal team. They're looking for an update on this case. And in attendance, we expect to see a top career Justice Department official and the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney who stayed on after former President Trump left office to continue to oversee this investigation. But Pamela, it's not clear if we're going to get any update on the status of this case as this meeting comes amid a lot of questions about exactly what is going on with a long-running investigation into the president's son. This investigation's been going on since 2018, and last summer, CNN was the first to report that the case had pretty much narrowed down to some potential charges, including a few tax crimes and possibly one false statements charge connected to a gun that Biden had purchased.
Oh, man. Okay, so listen, we would normally not play 60 seconds of CNN for you, but it's important for you to see, dear viewer, that this is how you cause panic in Washington. You take the corporate press that is supposed to be owned wholesale by the super state, the deep state, the permanent state in our country, and you start flipping them on the regime. Now, I can play you Fox News clips till the day is done. I can play you clips from Charlie's show, from Steve Bannon's show, from Tucker's show. And we love those guys. They're our homies. But they are speaking to a conservative audience by and large. CNN is speaking to, generally, independents or fanatical left-wingers. This is the first time they're hearing any of this. And so it's important. And also, the White House is watching CNN, calling on CNN in the briefings. They will be forced to talk about this. It's too bad that that this is the lengths we need to go to find truth. But I have for you, and we assembled this from about a month ago when this was first broadcast, an absolute panic point. The point upon which they decided to lock up Donald Trump. Okay, this is the point when they said, my God, charge him with anything. Has Donald Trump ever spit out his gum on the sidewalk? Put him in prison for it. Anything. This is the point where they finally snapped, where they had the meltdown, where they needed the narrative change. This moment, I can pinpoint it. When CNN did this report on the Biden crime family, which is the most thorough report I've seen this side of Tucker Carlson, on what the crime family actually did, and how they did it, and who was at the top, my God, our jaws were on the floor in the studio. We were ranting and raving, ripping stuff off the walls. We couldn't believe it when CNN broadcast this. Okay, part one. The Biden crime family. Again, your eyes are not deceiving you. This is CNN, ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting this. Go.
Despite his denials, a CNN review of the laptop data, as well as other public material, shows that Joe Biden did interact with some of his son's associates while serving as vice president, though it's unclear exactly what was discussed. One example, the Republican cite Miguel Alemán Magnani, a Mexican businessman and son of the former president who Hunter was trying to woo. In 2014, Alemán Magnani and his dad were photographed at the White House with then Vice President Biden. In a later email, Hunter Biden reminds Alemán Magnani of the favors he's done for him. We have been talking about business deals and partnerships for 7 years. I have brought every single person you have ever asked me to bring to the effing White House and the Vice President's house and the inauguration. Hunter Biden bluntly acknowledged the power of the Biden name in a memoir, writing that the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, which put him on its board, considered my last name gold.
I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life that if my last name wasn't Biden.
My God. Are you on the floor? It gets worse. So let's summarize this segment of CNN, which is a 7-minute long segment. We don't have enough time to play the full thing, but we've clipped out the most important parts. 1, Joe Biden lied when he said he's never spoken to his son about his business dealings. And then CNN uses Hunter Biden's laptop in order to pull out emails of Hunter Biden extorting foreign businessmen for the favors they've done them. My God, the world is burning. I told you this was the moment where they said, charge Donald Trump with anything you possibly can. We have got to get this out of the news. But here it comes roaring back. The truth shall set you free. Pride cometh before destruction. Go.
He has built his political career on promises of honesty, hard work, and a pledge that a family name means something.
I give you my word as a Biden. I give you my word as a Biden.
But while Joe Biden swears by his name in politics, his son and 2 brothers spent years trying to benefit from the Biden name. It's all now the focus of a Republican-led congressional investigation.
We want to know what the Biden administration is trying to hide from the American people and why they are not being transparent.
Republican Congressman James Comer now chairs the House Oversight Committee and has set his sights on Joe Biden's son, Hunter, a mysterious laptop now in the hands of the FBI, and long-held conspiracy theories about President Joe Biden and what he does or doesn't know.
So there was a factual error there. James Comer, who's been on the show and is a fan of the show and will be joining us this week, actually, James Comer has said, no, this is an investigation of Joe Biden. And this is why there hasn't been a special counsel appointed, because a special counsel will actually look into Joe Biden's connections here, as CNN is able to do. So if you have microwave brains at CNN able to see that there is a connection between Joe Biden and his family business, and that the entire family business was selling Joe Biden's office, well, it's going to be pretty easy to say that Joe Biden is criminally complicit here. Now, how do they do that? It's called a RICO law. A RICO law is essentially an old racketeering law that was passed and still stands for old racketeering back in like the 1920s and the bootlegger days, where you could essentially go after the heads of crime families for giving orders for criminal activity. And that's what they're going to use to zip up the entire Biden family. Trust me on this. And that's why CNN going in through the branches of the Biden family, not just Hunter, which is the easy one, but Joe Biden's dirty scumbag brothers. This is the best, again, this is the best reporting I've seen on this in all of media. That includes Fox. That includes Newsmax. That includes some of my close friends who run media companies on the right. Yo, check this out about Joe Biden's brother, Frank. You ever heard of him? CNN has. Go.
Joe Biden's brothers have repeatedly referenced him in their private dealings. Frank Biden, a developer of for-profit charter schools, has invoked his brother in trying to convince local officials to approve his projects, like in Sunrise, Florida, where he told the city in 2015 to trust his venture.
Not because of Frank, but because of the honor of being the brother of a guy I think we all know and love.
In 2021, at a gathering of medical professionals, he made this pledge.
The bully pulpit that I have as a result of the privilege of being associated with my brother Joey.
And I'll do everything in my power to support you to get the job done, to get federal dollars to your research.
Frank Biden told CNN there has been zero interaction between his brother's public office and his private business, adding, "Do I engage in any way in quid pro quo on any level? Absolutely not."
So this is part of the beauty of being in the corporate press. Still, CNN is going to CNN. So CNN goes through and plays clips. You've never seen those clips, have you? Of Joe Biden's brother here in the state of Florida shaking down counties and businesses here in the state of Florida. And we just did an interview with Ron DeSantis. We asked them about, wait, what about the district attorneys here in Florida? Couldn't they charge the Bidens for racketeering if they did business here? And DeSantis like, yeah, actually, go for it. So let's go, Republicans. Chop, chop. We got plenty of business to do here. Let's hit the bricks. Ladies and gentlemen, you've never seen those clips, and that's why I say this is some of the best reporting I've ever seen. I can't believe it. It's a Monday, and I'm complimenting CNN. They went through and found the clips of Frank Biden saying, "I will get you federal funding because of my last name. You should hire me because of my last name, because of the high office that I can appeal to." And then CNN goes and they're like, "What the hell are these videos about?" And he's like, "Oh, it's not a quid pro quo, I promise." They'll impeach Donald Trump for their crimes. Remember, they impeached Donald Trump for a quid pro quo. They'll impeach Donald Trump for their crimes. Not just one brother. Joe Biden's got apparently a whole stable of weird look-alike brothers. Another one is named James. Probably heard of him. He's listed in a lot of these criminal documents. And CNN says, he's a criminal. Go.
Healthcare entrepreneur Michael Frey told CNN Joe Biden's other brother, James, broke financial promises he made while referencing the Biden name. Frey's company filed a lawsuit alleging fraud by James Biden, who denied the claims. Frey spoke to CNN before the lawsuit settled in 2020.
Everything was on the Biden name, and so we took that to heart.
James Biden was also named in a lawsuit filed in July. He allegedly received about $600,000 in loans in 2018 from a company he worked with, AmeriCorps Health, based upon representations that his last name Biden could open doors and that he could obtain a large investment from the Middle East based on his political connections. The suit states that the investment was never delivered. The lawsuit was settled, though James Biden denied the allegations in court filings. He did not respond to a request for comment.
So I want to make this exceedingly clear here, and we apologize for a little bit of the glitching with this, with our camera here. We're fixing it right now. Again, we do stream live every single day. Sometimes we go in. Sometimes, unfortunately, with technology, you have a little bit of a glitching. I want to establish something very important here, which is they know that with a whistleblower, with the IRS whistleblower, they will not be escaping. This is what they are the most terrified about. This is the sum of all fears for the Biden family. There is no escaping when you have an IRS whistleblower who's coming to you from the criminal division in the federal government, stating that these crimes have occurred and that they are covering them up. Ladies and gentlemen, Miranda Devine, who's been the greatest on this issue from the laptop from hell, speaking about this just seconds ago on Fox News. Go.
I find it hard to believe that after 5 years of what looks to the public to be inactivity, suddenly there's this leak to CNN, presumably from Hunter Biden's camp, saying that they're having this meeting, finally, with David Weiss and a senior Department of Justice official. And that's come just a few days after this IRS whistleblower has come forward. No doubt, as they say, they reached out to have this meeting weeks ago, but the whistleblower came forward behind the scenes to the Inspector General of the DOJ back in after March 1, when he saw Attorney General Merrick Garland give what he believed to be misleading testimony during an oversight hearing. And so presumably within the DOJ, it's been known that there's some movement here and that whistleblowers have come forward. No doubt Hunter Biden's lawyers are on guard for that, because that's their greatest fear, I guess, is that a whistleblower will come forward and start pressing the issue on this case. Right.
So this is the sum of all fears, ladies and gentlemen. This is the sum of all fears for the Biden. The whistleblower that has come forward has suddenly put everyone on their heels. And there is an absolutely You must read this article from the Federalist. This was published this morning. 6 reasons why the IRS whistleblower on the Biden family has proven a protection racket for the crime family. This is the most important broadside to what they're trying to do with the Bidens right now. And this article goes through and details exactly why and what this whistleblower is about to do to the Bidens. So we've brought you last week, we did 2 shows on an IRS whistleblower from inside of the criminal division that's coming out and saying the DOJ, the FBI, they're trying to cover this up. Now, we all knew about this. They're saying that Merrick Garland is lying, that Merrick Garland and his political appointees are stopping the prosecution of Hunter Biden because they know it will lead to a special counsel that will take down Joe Biden. Joe Biden's supposed to announce he's running again for president this week, and so protection mode is on full. Check out this incredible piece, ladies and gentlemen, from the Federalist. The whistleblower has corroborating evidence. Here's item number 1 as to why this whistleblower is terrifying the DOJ and the Bidens, and why you're seeing panicked meetings being requested by Biden's lawyers today. While Wednesday's letter from the whistleblower's attorney and the Congressional Oversight Chair spoke only in cryptic terms, as we detailed on Friday, individuals claiming to be directly familiar with the case revealed the whistleblower has accused 2 of Biden's U.S. appointed attorneys of refusing to seek tax indictments against Hunter, despite career investigations recommending to do so. The sources also claimed that the whistleblower's disclosures established that Garland refused Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss's request for a special counsel protection, and that Garland testified inaccurately when he represented the Senate committee that he had full authority to bring cases in jurisdictions if he feels necessary. You're putting the number 1 justice law enforcement agent, Merrick Garland, on blast here. This isn't merely the seriousness of the whistleblower's accusations that should shake those sheltering Hunter Biden. It's the promise of corroborating evidence. The whistleblower's attorney, Mark Little, reportedly maintains his clients can identify contemporaneous witnesses and to corroborate his claims of political interference. They have brought the evidence. So they have no idea what this person has screenshotted. They have no idea what this person has in their own files. They can delete. They can try and cover all this up like Hillary Clinton, but this guy has the hard copies. The IRS agent is nonpartisan and credentialed. The whistleblower's apparent nonpartisan pedigree is another reason for participants in the Biden protection racket to be afraid. The whistleblower is not a political person and does not have a political agenda, their lawyer told Fox News. He is a career law enforcement official who has not made any political donations and doesn't ever use social media. My God. Item number 3, dual authorization was required. The IRS whistleblower claims that 2 Biden-appointed U.S. attorneys inappropriately, for political reasons, declined to seek a tax indictment against Hunter Biden, carry more weight given the dual authorization procedure required by the DOJ for criminal tax cases. The Department of Justice manual provides that the tax division oversees federal criminal tax enforcement. Thus, while a grand jury is empowered to investigate tax crime, the tax division must first approve and authorize of the attorney's office, and Joe Biden and political appointees are putting a stop to that. Criminal violations are obvious. Number 4, of course, Biden officials have interfered in his son's cases. Why else hasn't Hunter Biden been charged? That title from former federal prosecutor Andrew McCarthy's Friday New York Post article capsulates perfectly another reason those running the Biden protection family racket should be shaking. The political favoritism show Hunter Biden is obvious. Who else could lie on a federal firearm form to purchase a handgun, only to lose physical possession of the gun, have it turn up in the street across from a school, and not get charged? More importantly, gun offenses are straightforward. It would take a competent investigator 5 days, not 5 years, to wrap into a probable case. Now, we have demonstrated for you how the Secret Service somehow showed up at the gun store to try and get all the paperwork. Ladies and gentlemen, this runs deep. The timing is suspect. The timing also renders the whistleblower's claims believable. Recall in March that the New York Times began prepping the country for an indictment of Hunter Biden by soft-pedaling his criminal conduct. Now it looks as though the DOJ is trying to brush all of this under the rug in order for Joe Biden to run for president again. And finally, the scandal reaches the FBI and Joe Biden. The Biden-appointed U.S. attorneys who allegedly declined to seek grand jury indictments against the president's son are not the only ones implicated. However, the whistleblower alleges reportedly also that the FBI headquarters, Director Wray and Merrick Garland personally are interfering in the investigation. This goes all the way to the top. All the way. And that is what the individuals who are the smartest on this issue, James Comer, who has been a bulldog on this issue, who has been killing it on this issue, is saying. James Comer is saying, and he started off from day one saying, this is not about Hunter. This is about Joe Biden. And it is impossible that it was Hunter Biden acting alone. Hunter Biden has the IQ of a meat locker, room temperature, meat locker. Hunter Biden is like a 30 to 40 IQ. He's not the smartest man you've ever met, according to Joe Biden. He is one of the dumbest individuals, one of the stupidest criminals. And he was being ordered, just like any goon inside of any mafia, he was being ordered to commit these crimes by the hierarchy of the Biden family, Biden and his dirty brothers. Ladies and gentlemen, James Comer is a dog with a bone. Watch.
So, when we hear about the Biden family lawyers are meeting with the DOJ to talk about a potential indictment of Hunter Biden, I want to be very clear, Maria. It would be impossible for the Department of Justice to just cherry pick Hunter Biden for an indictment and not do anything to the 8 other Biden family members, because they were essentially doing the same thing and receiving the same types of payments from our adversaries around the world that Hunter Biden was doing.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally having the moment that we've been waiting for. You have been asking, and I've been reading the comments, and you've been saying, Benny, why doesn't anything ever happen? Now, the response that I often give is that the wheels of justice turn slowly, and they do, in fact, turn, and thank God that they do turn. But I will argue that God actually has a much larger role to play here. God has a large role to play in all of our lives. However, God has a much larger role to play here at this very moment, because I believe that God has a sense of humor. I like to laugh on this show. I like to bring effort on this show. I like to bring clarity on this show. We like to play memes on this show and have a little chuckle. We don't like to be doomers or gloomers, but we do like to bring to you a spiritual perspective in all of this. We are fighting darkness versus light, and I believe that God has a comical sense of timing, and that God has been very true to his promise to humble the proud, and especially those who are corrupt. And throughout the scriptures, you have seen kings and leaders who are corrupt and evil get it. And now we are seeing the timing, things that the Bidens could never have predicted, the timing finally collapsing in on Joe Biden. The timing could not be worse. You could argue that this could have happened a long time ago, but I'm telling you right now is the week that Joe Biden is allegedly going to announce his run for 2024, and this is the hottest I've seen the investigation of his crime family in the last 3 years. We've learned more in the last 72 hours, business days, about the Biden crime family and about Hunter Biden's crimes and with this whistleblower than we've learned in the last 3 years. This is the moment, the worst possible moment for Joe Biden. And we're just getting started. James Comer says that there were 12 Biden family members who were involved in influence peddling schemes because James Comer is starting to get the files. He's starting to get the bank records. And he's starting to get the hard data to bring true charges against the Biden family. Now, you'll say, Benny, Congress can't charge. Fine. Congress can set the case and refer to the DOJ. And then the DOJ, under Joe Biden, will have to appoint a special counsel when Congress pushes the recommendations to charge the president. And now James Comer is saying, yo, you couldn't make a Christmas picture anymore with the Bidens because every single one of them will have a mugshot. Wild statement, rocketed around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, this weekend. Listen.
Do you expect Hunter Biden to get indicted? Do you expect other family members to have a target on their back or not? Or will this DOJ just ignore it all?
Well, they're in a pickle here, especially now with the IRS whistleblower. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason why Hunter Biden shouldn't have been indicted years ago, even before the last presidential election. But one of the challenges that I've learned that the Department of Justice, if there are any legitimate, serious people left in the DOJ that are really trying to do the right thing, is what do you do with this many family members of the president? I mean, there's not going to be anybody left for a Christmas picture. If the DOJ did their job and went in there and indicted everyone that has any type of fingerprints involved in this influence peddling scheme. I mean, it's the entire family.
Everything they accuse Donald Trump of doing, they themselves are guilty of. They accuse Donald Trump of taking money from China and from Russia, and it is them who took money from China and Russia, and why would you pay off your family member? I run a business. Let me tell you why you would pay off a family member. Let me tell you how it all works in racketeering. You take individuals, the low IQ dumbasses in your family like Hunter Biden, and you use them as money funnels. Because if Joe Biden was pulling in all the cash, everyone would say, well, what the hell is Joe Biden doing with $50 million? You spread that money out. You distribute it through your family. If you are making illegal money, if you're making corrupt money, my business doesn't make any corrupt money, right? I don't have a suspicious activity report with my bank. The Bidens have 150 of them. Why? Because I don't get fat checks from the Communist Party of China, or from Russian oligarchs, or from Ukrainian oligarchs, or from Kazakhstani oligarchs, or Azerbaijani oligarchs. I don't get those. Do you? If you did, if Volodymyr Zelensky suddenly wired you $50 million, let me tell you what, your bank, no matter where you bank, would have to issue a suspicious activity report and say, this person probably corrupt. Something bad is happening here. And that's what happened with the Biden family. That is why the Biden family are called foreign agents by James Comer, the lead investigator for the United States House.
But I haven't found any legitimate business dealings on the Biden end. It looks like if there was a legitimate business dealing in any of these LLCs, it was influence peddling. And, you know, if you want to get technical and if you want to get to a legal term, that's called being a foreign agent. They weren't registered as a foreign agent, and I'm sure the ethics laws would prevent immediate family members of high-ranking government officials from being foreign agents. Either way, this is bad. There are more laws that appear to me that have been broken than just tax evasion, and there are a lot more Bidens involved than just the president's son and his brother.
So if you want to know the actual demands of the base, speak with them, talk with them. I try and respond to as many comments as I possibly can on our show. We're creating a brand new show that will be totally comment-based. So we're going to create a show where we bring in some of the biggest names. We're going to totally reinvent the interview, where we bring in the biggest names in media. We bring in the biggest names in politics, and they're going to only take your questions. We are building that formatting right now. It'll be a show where your comments will pop up on screen with Trump, DeSantis, Tucker Carlson, whatever, and it'll be you asking the questions. It'll be awesome. But if you want to know where people are, you read the comments. And what I read all the time is, if there was any justice in this country, we would impeach Joe Biden. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now starting to get the answers to that question. How do you impeach Joe Biden? A member of Congress named Tim Burchett was on oversight. He's on the oversight committee, the committee here that is investigating the Bidens, and he was asked directly, how do we impeach Joe Biden? We thought his answer was excellent, and we play it for you because we listen to you, and we respond to these comments, and we know that this is an important issue for you. Here we go.
We're talking about impeaching Biden. How could we not impeach Biden if this does, in fact, reach him? I wonder what their defense will be. I mean, this is just going on too much, and the like I said, the documentation that I've seen, I can't comment on all of it, but what I can comment on is that it is bad, and it is getting worse, and it is showing illegal monies from Chinese communists flowing into this White House.
Are you ready for what our movement is doing? You know that Bud Light fired a second VP of marketing, the person who was the Alyssa Heinerscheid boss, the person in charge of the woke Bud Light VP of marketing, they fired a second person. So this is how powerful our movement is. Woke corporate America is now scalping because we are pushing back. There has been an energy shift, and it is our responsibility to catalog that and to prove to you that your activism, your tweeting, your commenting, your watching, that it is having an effect, a profound one at that. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever heard a member of Congress talk with such clarity? Certainly our favorites like MTG and Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz, they've all come on the program and said, yes, we're going to impeach Biden. But isn't it interesting hearing a rank and file member say, how could we not? How could we not impeach Joe Biden? We are now seeing the open criminality. They have opened the books, and now we're seeing it. That's what rank and file members of Congress are saying. Not that there's any lost love between us and MTG, man. We love us some MTG. We love us some Matt Gaetz. But I'm saying when you're bringing on, like, the Republicans who hold the majority in Congress, and you're bringing on, like, the middle-of-the-road dudes from districts in Indiana, this is what we're getting. Biden's false Hunter Biden laptop letter interfered in elections beyond anything China or Russia could do. GOP politician. Now, this is really important to note because, again, I'm going to get it tattooed on, I'm going to get a tramp stamp tattoo with this comment on my body because it is so true. It's the one tattoo I won't regret getting because it is the most true thing. Whatever they've accused Donald Trump of doing, every crime they themselves are guilty of. Donald Trump colluded with Russia in order to rig an election. These people colluded with our own deep state and our own national security state in order to rig an election. It is now confirmed. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Blinken, who is the current Secretary of State, because these people are craven and have no pride and no morals and no scruples. This man who's currently sabotaging all American foreign policy. You know, we evacuated another embassy this week. Another embassy in Somalia. Another embassy. That's 3 embassies evacuated. In case you're wondering if you're living through Jimmy Carter 2.0. Tony Blinken is the one who coordinated with a bunch of CIA spooks and a bunch of deep staters the fake Russian propaganda letter. They are the ones who actually used the guise of Russian collusion in order to try and meddle or interfere in an election. It's just the election was the 2020 election. They lied to you, and they knew they were lying, and it happened at the highest level of the Biden campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, we've covered this on Friday, but an important recap from Jim Jordan.
Congressional leaders, including Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan and Intel Chair Mike Turner, are asking Blinken to explain himself. They're demanding he not only identify the people with whom he communicated about drafting the statement, they want him to produce all the documents referring to it. And they've given him until May the 4th at 5 p.m. to comply. Now, critics also add this to further underscore the increasingly worrisome ties between the security state and the Democratic Party, that Deputy Director Morell testified that not only did he help the Biden campaign and not only did they help with the letter, he said he did so in part because he wanted to help them win the election.
Oh, okay. Interesting. You know, I've heard of this, I think. Collusion with a foreign power in order to win a presidential election based on lies. It's just that it was the Bidens doing it. So why do these people still have their security clearances? I think that's a very important question to ask, ladies and gentlemen. President Biden, I'm reading to you now from the New York Post, who has done the absolute excellent work of revealing Hunter Biden's laptop from the beginning. President Biden's dirty campaign trick that falsely claimed that the post-blockbuster Hunter Biden laptop story involved Russia and disinformation amounts to far worse election interference than any foreign effort, top GOP politicians said on Sunday. Actually, they knew Hunter Biden laptop was real. The FBI knew that. They had possession of it since 2009, says Ron Johnson, hero of the Republic, former head of the Homeland Security Committee, on a podcast called The Cat's Roundtable. But the Biden campaign still persuaded 51 former intelligence officials to sign on to the letter that they knew was a lie. in order to use their pedigree to lie to the American people. Ladies and gentlemen, why are their clearances not revoked? An important question.
Is that these people use their security clearance as a political tool. And yet these same 51 officials continue to have a security clearance. Why does the United States of America give them a security clearance if they're going to misuse it? If you abuse it and try to spin something that wasn't in the data, that they never did research, that they never did see, that there were no facts to it, then you should lose your security clearance.
Yeah, one of Dana's points, though, is well taken. Like, who in the media, other than here, is going to report on it?
And here's the thing. Many of those officials now work in the media, right? You look at John Brennan, for example, the former head of the CIA who signed off on this letter. He's now a national security analyst for MSNBC. And we've seen over at CNN as well, they've hired many of the folks that signed off on that letter. So the media isn't going to hold anybody accountable here because many of their employees signed off on that letter.
So here you have it. It is an important moment for us to recognize the power that we have as Americans to hold accountable the corrupt and to have the knowledge of these institutions collapsing around us. Now, imagine what they got away with when they only had 3 networks. Imagine what they got away with when it was just the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and the Washington Post dragging along behind. Imagine what they got away with. Imagine what they could do. They could truly get away with some of the most heinous acts and some of the worst crimes against our country. The Kennedy assassination, Watergate. You want to talk about rigging elections? The most popular president in my lifetime, correction, I wasn't actually born yet, but that was Richard Nixon. A 49-state landslide. No one's ever won with such dominance like Nixon did. You want to talk about usurping the democratic process? This isn't the first time, ladies and gentlemen. This is back to square one, actually. These people have been corrupt for a long time. And there are very few voices that actually call out that corruption. And we have some breaking news now that I am deeply conflicted about and saddened by. Breaking news that happened seconds ago. We've been building it out while we've been live on the show. Tucker Carlson is leaving Fox News. Ladies and gentlemen, Tucker Carlson will be leaving Fox News. We have confirmed this. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. We have confirmed this officially. And we are in shock, to be quite honest with you. A couple of reasons why we are in shock. One, because I used to work for Tucker Carlson, albeit it was in a writing position. It was at a news site that Tucker Carlson founded, but was the owner of. It's called the Daily Caller. He was a regular in the newsroom. And while his Fox show was starting, we got a front row seat to how successful Tucker Carlson was at Fox, how powerful this man's footprint was becoming. And then Tucker Carlson became the king of cable quite quickly, actually. He took over a news slot from Bill O'Reilly, and then he became skyrocketing ratings because he spoke in a vernacular that reflected you and I. He came from a news background, but he never lost his connection to the common man, and he spoke up on their behalf. And he does that better than any in the business. We pray when we are in the small hours of the evening. If we are praying, when we're alone, we pray to have the type of moral clarity, professional clarity that Tucker Carlson has. And now Tucker Carlson has been removed from one of the largest platforms on earth, which is Fox News. Tucker Carlson will apparently be done. I'm sorry, correction, is done. His final show was on April 21st. It is April 24th. Tucker Carlson is no longer at Fox News. A ton of conflicting reports. I'm sorry, correction. A ton of conflicting feelings, not conflicting reports. We have confirmed this through and through. Tucker Carlson will no longer be broadcasting at 8 p.m. live on Fox News. There will be an interim show hemmed by a rotating Fox personality. My God. Here's the statement. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. We want to thank him for his service as a host and a contributor. Tucker's out at Fox News. One of the most important names and the most important show, I would say, inarguably, in all of media. I think inarguably. Here is the Fox News. Again, this is breaking news. This was breaking seconds ago. Here's the Fox News statement on that. His last show was Friday. Fox News Media. I mean, it's hard to actually. It's hard to act like so. Fox News has been done like so. Dan Bongino didn't have his had contract as far as we can tell had the contract negotiations fall through essentially. Dan Bongino's hit show on Fox. He was number one on the weekends, far and away. He was done last week. He announced last week that he is no longer returning to Fox. And now Tucker Carlson, the king. I mean, you're talking Tucker Carlson gets 6 times the ratings that CNN gets. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. Thank you for his service as a host and a contributor in Mr. Carlson's last program. Fox News Tonight will air rotating hosts and news personalities. Here is the live reaction from Fox to this news.
We have some news from within our Fox family. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have mutually agreed to part ways. Tucker's last show was this past Friday. And starting tonight, Fox News Tonight will air live at 8 p.m. Eastern. It will be an interim show with rotating Fox News personalities until a new host is named. We want to thank Tucker Carlson for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a long-term contributor.
So I wasn't counting on this. I know Tucker. I wouldn't claim him as like my closest friend, but I know him. I interact with him. I speak with him. I'm a massive fan of Tucker Carlson. Just this weekend, Tucker Carlson was speaking at the Heritage Foundation Gala in Washington, D.C., and he said what I thought was possibly the most important speech, possibly the most important things that Tucker Carlson has ever said publicly in defining the battle between good and evil and what can occur when we decide to not frame our political discourse as a battle between good and evil. We'll play you that clip in just a moment because we feel like this would possibly be the clip that would define this moment. Now, I don't work at Fox. We have friends who work there, but I don't work there. I view this as a betrayal. I don't know how else to couch this. I don't know. This has hit me as a ton of bricks. This is a shock to me. Somebody who knows Tucker, he is the best person. He is he's exactly what you want a celebrity to be when you meet him. If you meet be careful when you meet your heroes, because they often turn out to be a-holes or bastards. They often turn out to be horrible individuals. Tucker Carlson is better than you could possibly imagine. I have been in an elevator and watched Tucker Carlson stand and speak to the Guatemalans who were running janitorial services for the building. And they could only speak in broken English, but they knew that Tucker Carlson was famous. And Tucker Carlson took the time of day to talk with them, to take selfies, to ask them questions about their lives. It's part of him you'll never see. Tucker Carlson often brought to the forefront some of the most important information and asking some of the most important questions about the regime, it's really impossible to catalog. We often put those clips up on our social media with nightly regularity because he is a must-watch. It is impossible to fill Tucker's shoes. It will not be possible. It won't be possible. I don't know the details, but it certainly feels politically motivated. Why would you get rid of the #1 news host on planet Earth, the most listened to man in the world in corporate media? You could argue that Joe Rogan possibly has more listeners on an episode basis, but nonetheless, arguable. Wherever Tucker goes will be unbelievably successful. We know that people at the Daily Wire, for instance, Jeremy Boring, has said that he would pay Tucker Carlson 8 figures. So that would be potential rivalry to his Fox contract for a show. We'll see. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. But this is, again, breaking news. Tucker Carlson could potentially go to Rumble and do a show there. Tucker Carlson would be wildly dominant inside of wherever would have him. Maybe Newsmax. I don't know. I'm not sure. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what I know, but I'll tell you this. I know that this is bad. This is bad business. Bongino and then Tucker Carlson, those are individuals at Fox that are beloved by the base and beloved by those who actually make this movement work. So we are really taken aback by all of this. The Tucker Carlson clip, guys, I think we have it loaded, but I want to go to Mike Davis first. We have the most important Tucker clip. We'll end the show with it because Tucker deserves it. We have the most important couple minutes of a Tucker speech ever delivered. But for comment on this first, we want to bring in one of the smartest and possibly the best legal mind when it comes to legal offense in our nation. The man's name is Mike Davis. He is our in-house attorney for The Benny Show. So beware. Mike Davis joins the show now. Mike, thank you. We thought we'd talk about Biden crimes here, but as somebody who's been on Tucker's show, as somebody who goes on Fox News a lot, I want to get your initial takeaway from this really shocking development that Tucker Carlson's show will not be broadcast any longer on Fox.
Yeah, I mean, it is shocking. Tucker Carlson is the biggest name in cable TV, so maybe there's a lot more to the story that we don't know, but this is definitely shocking.
Yeah, I can't see this as a good thing. Maybe it will be in the end. Maybe this will turn out to be a very, very good thing in the end. But if you are on if you're at Fox, I mean, you can see it in the numbers. This was the highest rated show. He was getting 7x what MSNBC and CNN were bringing down. The left is going to celebrate this. They've been calling for Tucker's scalp for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, they ran their advertiser boycott campaigns. Today's left doesn't believe in free speech. They don't believe in debate. They believe in censorship, cancellation. It's we've said this a lot, but it's not our parents' or grandparents' Democrat Party anymore. These are not liberals who love America. These are leftists. These are Marxists. They hate America. They hate free speech. They believe in censorship. They hate equality. They believe in equity. They hate due process. They believe in Me Too and politicized and weaponized justice systems. So it's disturbing what is going on now, and this, like I said, this Tucker news is pretty shocking.
So I don't want to, neither of us were inside the boardroom at Fox, and so I don't want to ask you to pontificate really about what, essentially we'd just be manufacturing what we think happened. What you have been seeing, however, Mike, is Hunter Biden's attorneys scurrying like rats into the DOJ this week, begging for a meeting. What can we make of that?
Well, I mean, I know what we can make is there's according to the news reports, there is very strong evidence for the Justice Department to charge Hunter Biden with 4 crimes related to tax evasion, foreign corruption, and a gun crime. And the Biden Justice Department, according to these news reports, the political appointees, maybe even Attorney General Merrick Garland himself, has been interfering with this ongoing probe, political interference to protect Hunter Biden, which protects Joe Biden, because 10% to the big guy. So there is apparently a whistleblower who is ready to come forward to Congress and blow the whistle on maybe the Attorney General Merrick Garland on this political cover-up. And there's a U.S. attorney up in Delaware who's been investigating this. His name is David Weiss. And people say he's a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney. Yeah, technically he is, but the way U.S. attorneys work, and I used to run the confirmation process on the Judiciary Committee, it's the home state senators who pick the U.S. attorney. So it was the two Democrat senators in Delaware working with the Trump White House who picked this U.S. attorney. He's non-political, and the fact that he has evidence of 4 crimes, according to news reports, and Garland is blocking him, that is a huge scandal.
So we are correct in our takeaway here that it is the political appointees that are blocking the charging of Hunter Biden, which would, of course, open up the door then to investigations into Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. David, we should have been made a special counsel by Garland. There's a clear there is a clear conflict where Garland is protecting President Biden, his boss, and Weiss now can charge in Delaware, apparently, but if he wants to bring charges in D.C. or California or any other of the U.S. attorney's offices, he has to go jump through a bunch of political hoops with political appointees in the Biden Justice Department. So he does not have the political independence he needs to do his job. And Garland, apparently, according to these news reports, is actively going out of his way to undermine this investigation.
So this is the worst possible timing. Joe Biden is apparently going to announce for president this week via a TikTok video or something. So it does feel as though, if you're reading the tea leaves of the news, that the entire charade is beginning to unravel. That they weren't counting on this whistleblower. They weren't counting on this extra pressure, that this is a gift to Republican investigators. Do you have the same sense?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they've been investigating Hunter Biden for a long time, there's smoking gun evidence that Hunter Biden is corrupt, that he illegally, corruptly took millions from Chinese and Ukrainian oligarchs. There's smoking gun evidence that 10% went to the big guy. And now House Oversight Chairman James Comer is coming forward with evidence that many, many, many members of Joe Biden's family was on the take here. So this is a scandal of epic proportions. And the fact that the Attorney General Merrick Garland is going out of his way, according to these news reports, according to this whistleblower, to undermine this investigation, this is impeachable all around. The president is compromised. He's clearly compromised by these illegal, corrupt payments from Chinese and Ukrainian oligarchs. Those are the 2 biggest trouble spots in the world right now. And the president of the United States is corrupted because his family and probably Joe Biden himself are on these payrolls.
So the final question I have for you, Mike, because this is what we saw trotted out as a Democrat talking point. We've been tracking this. So how they all huddled together, right? Unlike Republicans, Democrats huddled together in a hive mind, right? Like a little ant army, right? Building a hill to build up their own defenses, right? They get SDK Knickerbocker and all Jen Psaki firms, right? And they coalesce. And this is the best I've gotten. Okay, so the best they've come up with is, well, accepting billions of dollars from the Ukrainians and the Azerbaijanis and the Chinese. That's not a crime. That's the best I've gotten. And that's what they're trotting out. They're actually trying to bring that forward as, yes, it's corrupt, but it's not a crime. I saw that all weekend on the talking shows. So that's what they're sticking with, is there's no crime here. Can you comment?
Well, it sounds like this U.S. Attorney David Weiss and the FBI have a different take, because they apparently have evidence that Hunter Biden committed at least 4 different crimes, including the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and a gun charge because he lied on a gun application, and a couple charges for tax evasion. So I think that the career people in the Justice Department, including the FBI, have a different take.
Okay, well, we shall see. Mike Davis, as ever, where can people find your work?
Article3project.org, Article3project.org, at Article3project, at Article number 3 Project on Getter, Twitter, Truth. And my personal is MRDDMIA, MRDDMIA. Thank you, Ben.
It does seem, as a parting shot here, Mike, that Jim Jordan's listening to you.
Well, you know what? I started off by being a pretty loud, obnoxious, vocal critic of Jim Jordan on the big tech fight, but I think Jim Jordan, and even when he started the oversight at the beginning of this Congress, it got to a slow and bumpy start. But I'll tell you, Jim Jordan is really firing on all cylinders right now. He's doing amazing oversight with Alvin Bragg and elsewhere. So I have quickly turned from critic to fan of Jim Jordan.
Keep up the pressure. God bless you, Mike.
Thank you.
We had a lot to do in our show, and there'll be a lot to talk about in the coming days about this as it pertains to Tucker Carlson. But as somebody who I consider a mentor, somebody who I consider an idol of mine, somebody who, again, I have worked with and alongside, Tucker Carlson, again, if you're just joining us, is leaving Fox News, has had his last broadcast, which was Friday, April 21st. I have more to do in our show, but I'm going to spike the rest of our show, and I'm going to give you a treat and a blessing, which is Tucker Carlson's speech from this weekend at the Heritage Foundation as it pertains to the spiritual battle that we are facing right now in America. If you hang on for a couple extra minutes on this show, I beg you to watch this clip. It's about a 5-minute clip. I know it's very long for this program, but it is the most important 5 minutes of a commentary that I have ever heard from an individual in this country who has a microphone like Tucker. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Tucker Carlson on the spiritual battle facing America.
It might be time to start to reassess the terms we use to describe what we're watching. So when I started at Heritage, the presumption was, and this is a very Anglo-American assumption, that the debates we're having are kind of rational debates about the way to get to mutually agreed upon outcomes. Right? So like we all want the country to be more prosperous and free and people to be less oppressed or whatever. And so we're going to argue about tax rates, and I think higher tax gets us there. I'm a Keynesian, and you disagree, you're an Austrian or whatever. But the objective is the same. And so we write our papers, and they write their papers, and may the best papers win. I don't think that's what we're watching now at all. I don't think we're watching a debate over how to get to the best outcome. I think that's completely wrong. And I've come to this conclusion, and I should say at the outset I'm an Episcopalian, so don't take any theological advice from me, because I don't have any. I grew up in the shallowest faith tradition that's ever been invented. It's not even a Christian religion at this point, I say with shame. But I'm just saying this as an observer of what's going on. There is no way to assess, say, the transgenderist movement with that mindset. Policy papers don't account for it at all. If you have people who are saying, I have an idea, let's castrate the next generation. Let's sexually mutilate children. I'm sorry, that's not a political debate. What? It has nothing to do with politics. What's the outcome we're desiring here? An androgynous population? Is that really what are we arguing for that? I don't think anyone could defend that as a positive outcome. But the weight of the government and a lot of corporate interests are behind that. Well, what is that? Well, it's irrational. If you say, well, I think abortion is always bad, well, I think sometimes it's necessary, that's a debate I'm familiar with. But if you're telling me that abortion is a positive good, what are you saying? Well, you're arguing for child sacrifice, obviously. It's not about a teen girl gets pregnant and what do we do about that and victims of rape. I get it. Of course I understand that, and I have compassion for everyone involved. But when the Treasury Secretary stands up and says, you know what you can do to help the economy? Get an abortion. Well, that's like an Aztec principle, actually. There's not a society in history that didn't practice human sacrifice. Not one. I checked. Even the Scandinavians, I'm ashamed to say. It wasn't just the Mesoamericans, it was everybody. So, that's what that is. What's the point of child sacrifice? Well, there's no policy goal entwined with that. No, that's a theological phenomenon. And that's kind of the point I'm making. None of this makes sense in conventional political terms. when people or crowds of people, or the largest crowd of people at all, which is the federal government, the largest human organization in human history, decide that the goal is to destroy things, destruction for its own sake. Hey, let's tear it down. What you're watching is not a political movement, it's evil. So if you want to assess, and I'll put it in and I'll stop with this. I'll put it in non-political, or non-specific theological terms, and just say, if you want to know what's evil and what's good, what are the characteristics of those? And by the way, I think the Athenians would have agreed with this. This is not necessarily just a Christian notion. This is kind of a, I would say, widely agreed upon understanding of good and evil. What are its products? What do these two conditions produce? Well, I mean, good is characterized by order, calmness, tranquility, peace, whatever you want to call it, lack of conflict, cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It's true. It is. And evil is characterized by their opposites: violence, hate, disorder, division, disorganization, and filth. So if you are all in on the things that produce the latter basket of outcomes, what you're really advocating for is evil. That's just true. I'm not calling for a religious war, far from it. I'm merely calling for an acknowledgement of what we're watching, which is not one, and I'm certainly not backing the Republican Party. I mean, ugh. I'm not making a partisan point at all. I'm just noting what's super obvious. Like, those of us who are in our mid-50s are caught in the past in the way that we think about this. One side's like, no, I've got this idea, and we've got this idea, and let's have a debate about our ideas. They don't want a debate. Those ideas won't produce outcomes that any rational person would want under any circumstances. Those are manifestations of some larger force acting upon us. It's just so obvious. It's completely obvious. And I think two things. One, we should say that and stop engaging in these totally fraudulent debates where we are using the terms that we used in 1991 when I started at Heritage, as if maybe, I could just win the debate if I marshaled more facts. I've tried that, doesn't work. And two, maybe we should all take just like 10 minutes a day to say a prayer about it. I'm serious. Like, why not? And I'm saying that to you not as some kind of evangelist. I'm literally saying that to you as an Episcopalian, the Samaritans of our time. I'm coming to you from the most humble and lowly theological position you can. I'm literally an Episcopalian, okay? And even I have concluded it might be worth taking just 10 minutes out of your busy schedule to say a prayer for the future, and I hope you will.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as somebody who has been an ally and a deep and abiding follower and appreciator of Tucker's work, and consider him to be somewhat of a mentor, I got to tell you, he's actually in very good spirits. We have some interesting news for you. Even right now, Jeremy Boring, who is in charge of the Daily Wire, is tweeting. A lot of people are asking Tucker Carlson if he's coming to the Daily Wire. I suspect Tucker already has a plan, but we'd break out a big novelty checkbook for him if he doesn't. So he's already. This is the man in charge of the Daily Wire. What will Tucker do? I wish that I could tell you right now. I cannot. I can tell you one thing, that it is the greatest compliment to be attacked by evil for speaking truth. The greatest honor in life a man can have is to be persecuted for doing the right thing. That is how martyrs are made. And so we look forward to assisting or supporting Tucker Carlson wherever he goes. He has the heart, the soul of the base. This news is not hitting well. with a base that is already devastated from the Bongino departure of Fox. And so it is certainly in these moments where we look to the scriptures. We look to the story of Christ, somebody who was persecuted, of course, for speaking truth, and we draw our inspiration from there. Pretty simple. 2 Corinthians 9:6 is our verse of the day. The point is, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not sow sparingly on this show. We encourage you to keep speaking truth, be bountiful in what God has given you, and go forth. These are fascinating times, and this movement is more important than ever. We are here to save America, to structure our lives correctly, God, family, country, and we're going to do it. Damn it. We're going to do it. It's your boy Benny. This has been The Benny Show. See ya.